we are going to talk about the film Live Combat, which is directed by Ben Vandermark from Canada, and it has been nominated for Best Gamer Film and Best Short Film. I'm going to hand it off to Rob, who's going to start the ball rolling for Live Combat.
Thank you again, Thomas. And Ben, welcome. We're happy to have you here today. Thoroughly enjoyed the film. Love the humor. My gosh, over the top. My question is more about your filmmaking background. How many films have you made?
I recently finished a 2-year stint studying film at George Brown College, and this was sort of on the latter end of it. And basically going straight from going in, I knew that I love making films that don't take themselves too seriously. You can make people laugh, that you can make people just feel laid back. But then on top of that, if you can sprinkle in whatever kind of little styles you can, then that just makes it so much better. This was somewhat of a film that had come out of, I'd come up with the initial idea for it about midway through my time at George Brown, and due to a handful of unforeseen circumstances, I actually didn't wind up filming it at all. And I had this whole script and pitch package that just wound up being shelved. And then it came to be about a year later, my time at George Brown was completely done. But all of a sudden, you had that urge almost last second of I just want to go out there and do something. I want to go out there and make something new. And everybody who's in this film is people who have collaborated with me on silly project after silly project after stupid project again and again. And lo and behold, I found myself calling everybody at a certain point saying, hey, could I get you in on this new project? It'll just be for this weekend we can film. Expected most people to say, sorry, man, can't on this moment. But everyone called me back and said, let's do it. And yeah, that's how it's slowly came to be.
That's amazing, Ben. So I'm just curious, do you and your buddies typically hold LARP sessions? Or was that whole kind of cosplay a realm of the world new to you?
I think I'm going to lose a lot of credit here. I've never actually done a LARP battle. It's something I've always been a huge fan of because it's because I'm a huge fan of on-stage performances and just really committing yourself to any kind of a character. So anybody who goes out there and just creates this crazy cool fantasy world, but really brings even more practical aspects to it, like battles, it just really got me excited. And I think for a long time, I always knew, I always love finding a way to incorporate action and just sort of oddball, just oddball action into my films. If you go and see anything else I've made, I think about half of my other films somehow involve dart guns or fake guns for a lot of it. If you can make it action-filled but also completely harmless at the end of the day, that's what I always find really funny. If somebody gets hit in the head with a foam sword and actually pretends they just got slaughtered, that always for whatever reason made me laugh really hard. So I just thought of this idea of what if we took LARP, which is innately just this harmless afternoon fun, and make it it's the most violent, terrifying thing going on screen possible. I just thought to myself, that can't not be fun. That can't turn into anything other than a good time.
So Ben, you brought up that common theme of guns throughout your films for the most part. I noticed some 60s music in and out of the film, and it made me think of Vietnam War, some references to Vietnam War. I'm just curious, are there any biographical references? Any family members who have fought in wars, or am I missing the mark completely here?
Not quite family members that I know of course, but I've always been the Vietnam War film genre is always been a really big fan of mine for a long time. Loved a lot of just the classic Vietnam War films like Full Metal Jacket, We Were Soldiers, and honestly Forrest Gump. I don't know if people usually call it a Vietnam War film, but it's a big Vietnam War film. The shot in the film where the LARP clan is walking down and there's there's an 8-bit cover of Soul Kitchen by The Doors. That was very much a reference to a little sequence in Forrest Gump where the same song plays. So it was very much, it was a lot of my film background that really influenced me on that. And personally, I think the 60s might be the greatest decade of music. So that's another thing. If I can find an excuse work it in to anything I make, I do it.
Ben, I'm so glad you brought up Full Metal Jacket, because that, in fact, is a question I have for you. I noticed in one of the scenes with the Nerf gun where literally the camera shot is staring down the barrel of the gun itself, and in slow motion, you can see it pumping. And it kind of reminded me of being, inspired out of a Stanley Kubrick film more than anything else. So it's very interesting just to hear your reference to Full Metal Jacket. Out of curiosity, are there other directors that inspire you based on their works?
Yeah, two other big influences, one kind of vague, one kind of very specific. The first one was, of course, Akira Kurosawa, the person that basically every filmmaker loves to reference, myself included. I really wanted to try and instill a little bit of that feel of just soldiers on a desolate battlefield having to go out and defeat a kind of unstoppable enemy. So I really tried to work some of the feeling into that. The other big reference, and I gotta be honest, I don't even know if this is a reference, this second one. It's basically the thing I stole this concept from, is there's a specific episode of American Dad. I don't know if anyone's a fan of it, but it's called In Country Club. And it's Stan and his son Steve go to a Vietnam War reenactment with paintball guns. And that's one of my favorite episodes of any animated show I've ever seen. It's just so ridiculous. People get shot up with paintball guns and pretend like they just got slaughtered. Like one friend loses another friend and says like, "You have to take me out." And he points the paintball gun and shoots like, "Not the face." I saw that and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna steal this. I'm gonna take it and make it mine. And that's what I did. No regrets.
Thanks for sharing, Ben. So now let's quickly talk about casting. The characters in this film had all specific pillar roles. Talk to me about that process. Were these just your buddies, or did you have a process-oriented casting approach here?
I'd love to very much say that it was both, because everybody in the film is a very talented actor, and everybody in the film, I'm happy to say, is my buddy. In terms of the main character, Tim, there's a bit of a funny story behind it, because Darren is a very good friend of mine, also was in George Brown College, and there was another short music video that I worked on a couple years back that I invited a bunch of friends out to, including him, and I said to him, could you please like come and star in this music video? So, and he's like, sure, and was pretty excited about it from what I could tell. We all arrive on the day of the shoot. I hand out these like punk rock gear and like instruments to everybody. Finally turn to Darren, and I'm like, so look, we're all casted up. Could you just help me like with the camera shots? I swear I'll get you in on another film. And he was like, yeah, no problem. And he was actually like a fantastic behind the camera. And immediately after that, I was like, I have to get this guy in another film, because I already knew he was a very good actor. So a while later on, I came up with this concept, actually part due to him, but from the moment I wrote the script, I knew from the start I wanted him to be the main character, because he's just that perfect kind of like mix of he can do dramatic stuff, but he also has that nerdy charm. I basically said that about everybody in the film. They're both like truly dramatic thespians, and they're also geeked out. As for everybody else, they basically hopped onto it pretty late in the process. In the case of Emanuel, who played Jeremy, who meets his unfortunate demise early on, I actually called him up the day before shooting, saying, hey, I had this actor set up for this character. He had to drop out last second. Could you possibly come in and do it? You'd have to be there for like 2 hours. And Emanuel texted me back saying, well, I have work that day, but I'll call in sick. Don't worry about it, bud. So he was the hero. And in terms of the other characters, I had a couple characters written and got everybody in. And as I was saying before, everybody was really great to hop in on this role, on all these roles, to the point where I almost had too much talent at once. And because of that, there was one of the other 3 roles. I think I'd rather hold back from saying precisely which role it was, but one of the roles I had to write in last minute, because I had one too many actors, and I was like, I'm not getting a replay of Darren with the music video. I'm just so I wrote in an extra character in the last week, So yeah, I think everybody hopped in pretty much last minute. I had some people in mind right from the beginning, a few people in mind way later on, and it all really came together in a crazy, great way.
The audience is dying to meet your cast. I've spotlighted some folks up here, and we'd love to hear from your cast members. Introduce yourself with your own voice, who you are, and the character that you played in the film, please.
I'm Darren, Emery, and I play Tim. And sorry, but I forget his LARP name.
Leonardis,
somebody help me. Exactly. So that's who I play.
Yeah, my name is Laith Hamid. And you're gonna have to forgive me because my this film was we shot this a little while ago.
2 years ago.
My character's name. Cormier. Okay, I like Cormier, but I certainly relate to him as being a wizard, a wacky wizard kind of guy.
Hi, I'm Emanuel Videla Toledo. I played Jeremy, one of the friends in the group who was unfortunately killed too early in the film. It was a great part, and I was very happy to be called upon Ben, although last minute, but very much enjoyed showing up to that, and the whole experience was really fun throughout.
Hi, I'm Aditya. I played one of the L.A.R.P fighters in the film. Definitely, I also got killed early on in the scene, but it was a good experience, and I'm glad to actually be part of this film that my friend Ben definitely made.
I'm Matthew, and I played Eric, or Justinian is his L.A.R.P name. I think Ben started to get bored naming because he chopped him mine. But no, this was great, and it's so easy when Ben calls to join because he's got this energy to his scripts and energy to the way he does just everything in life. So a lot of our lines are actually like unscripted or just us messing around. It's because it's so easy to play in his fun little worlds that he creates. So yeah, I'll always be down to help him.
This was a really cool project to be part of. I remember seeing the script when Ben was when he was in his degree or in his program and didn't get the opportunity to film it, but we were going to film it, and it was nice for it to come to fruition the way it did. I do recall something. I don't know if Ben necessarily recalled this when he was answering about the inspiration of this film, but I remember that I think Darren knows exactly what I'm talking about. The inception, from my view, the inception of this project came about because on my birthday we were all hanging out in Ben's apartment, having drinks and hanging out, listening to music, and then it sort of turned into being thespians and people into film and acting and theater and all that sort of stuff. It's very easy for us to just go into make-believe messing around and like something very similar to LARP, and just like a bunch of kids that just don't grow up. That also do acting and filmmaking on the side. So lo and behold, I guess that might have been. I'm going to venture to say that might have been part of Ben's inspiration for this and why we fit and well in it and enjoyed doing it.
Our question here, sorry, the audience is not going to even let our host ask any more questions, apparently. One of the questions is, what was the funnest moment on set? And what was the most unfun moment on set? And again, of course, Ben, that question can also be for you, but we're going to go to the cast first, please.
Darren, I feel like you got to answer this.
Me? There was a lot of improvisation. Matt said that. And I think that part was one of the most fun aspects to it was the chaoticness, I guess, of it. On the last day of shooting, I remember things weren't going right with the slingshot and the crew was getting a little frustrated. I wouldn't say this was horrible. It was kind of like horrible, but in a good way, because it was like everything we were doing was kind of falling apart. And we were just kind of trying to wrap things up and get the final shots in. But the chaoticness was kind of great because it allowed me personally as like an actor to kind of loosen up and just be like, hey, I'm having fun. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with whatever my gut tells me to do in this scene.
If I may chime in, I'm pretty sure Emanuel might win the story for the most unfortunate moment of the whole.
Oh yeah,
Emanuel, if you want to.
So the worst moment of filming this, and I just want to highlight that the best part of filming this was that I got a day off of work because I just was called by Ben the night before, and he's like, "Hey man, I just need you to play this part. You'd be doing a real solid. I know you have work today, but we'll film it early and you can get it done. We can get it done in 2 hours and you can be at work in time." And I had already set aside the time. I was like, no, I'm going to be there for this film. And so within 2 hours, as promised, we did film all the stuff for me. And so afterwards, I just kind of chimed around to help out with the rest of the group. Later around the nighttime, after we got to another film set, it was going to be too difficult to move everything to the next set. So we just wanted to move what was necessary and all the actors we needed. So I chose to stay behind with all the equipment in the previous filming spot to make it easier for everyone. And it got dark and it got very late. And after some time, coyotes started to approach the section where I was at. So I was just on the phone, shakingly just going, "Are you guys almost done wrapping up? There's coyotes by me." Thankfully, I had a lot of fake LARP swords to at least, scare them off a little bit. But I was like, you guys should wrap this up soon. I don't want to be coyote food. Another 20 minutes later, they finally came back for me. But yeah, wonderful moment.
All right, next question is, how did you choose who was going to play the sort of psycho LARPer?
I mean, I'm probably the most mentally unstable of anybody here, so it was kind of a cinch. But no, in actual fact, that was yet another kind of last minute decision, because I did have another actor lined up who was interested in playing the role, who I called up, and yet again it was a last minute cancellation. So, and all of a sudden it's like, oh god, who are we gonna get to do it? And last minute I was just like, you know what, screw it, I'll hop in. I don't mind. So yeah, it was somewhat out of just sheer convenience, and in a lot of ways I'm kind of happy it turned out that way, because as Darren somewhat alluded to, the final scene filming wise was a little bit wonky. We were losing our light really quickly, so we were only able to capture so much of that scene. And because I was the one playing Charlie, the psycho LARPer, I was able to just come back a couple other days just with my one camera and all my guns, and just get a whole bunch of like reshoot bits for that. So I think a lot of the shots that you see throughout the film involving me, half the time it was actually stuff filmed afterwards on a different day. So in a lot of ways it was an inconvenient thing at the beginning, and then it turned into something to somewhat of a blessing.
So we have a question that we ask everybody that comes across our stage. And the question is, what have you learned about yourself through the making of this film? So we're looking for an answer from each and every one of you, but we would like anybody to start to answer that question. What have you learned about yourself through the making of this film?
For me, it was kind of, I got back in touch with my acting self, because I had done a lot of acting as a kid. Like I had done theater, musical theater, and did some films here and there. But then I kind of stopped because of a number of reasons. And then I wanted to do school, like university and college. And yeah, so when we filmed, I was 25, and I had stopped acting around the age of 18. So there was this huge gap. So I remember feeling quite anxious about, oh my gosh, I haven't done this in a while. Will I like it or not? And when I did it, afterwards, I remember thinking, wow, this is something that I really enjoyed doing. And I haven't had like this much fun in like a number of years. So it's kind of allowing me to maybe reconsider maybe getting back into it as a hobby.
Yes, I guess very similar to Darren. I certainly have gotten into theater when I was a lot younger, and more so in film. I've always been doing music at the same time, and I've always been interested in gravitate towards the creative fields for sure. And I feel the time when Ben gave me the call about this one, I was pretty heavy and focused on a band I formed, and I found it refreshing to. What I learned was that I found it refreshing to get back into acting for short films, at least, and yeah, it just reminds me of to keep in touch and keep open to things that you've had experience with, that you enjoy, because that's something that's really enjoyable about film sets and working with your friends is the collaborative environment it creates. It's like you're working as a team and working together as creative minds, and I think that's really fun. So it's inspired me to keep, while life can be very busy, to try to just keep a opportunities in life open to things like that you do in all avenues of life, basically.
For me, it would be more about my comfortability zone. Like, I'm very shy in person, and I find a very hard time to build a connection with people I've never met. But I do find that putting yourself out there into the film scene, and just even if it's with a whole new cast of people, you all get to know each other by the end of the day because you're all there doing the same thing. Everyone has their respective roles, and you basically learn each other even through the characters a little bit. And you just bring yourself out through the character as well. That I just find it truly helps get comfortable with people being in the same set and learning from each other. So bit of comfortability around people definitely is what I gained out of this.
Same goes with Emanuel as well. Like, what I have gained from this is that when you work with others, you get the experience that, like, you learn from other people, and then you try to, like, do your own thing at the same time. But overall, like, you try to do what you can, and you try to keep with doing what's best, you know? But overall, it was a very good experience at the end of the day.
I learned not to take, I guess, myself too seriously. It's something that Ben was saying too, where like once you start doing acting as like a job, it felt like you just have to, you want to garner people's respect, and you want to show people what you're doing, and that, yeah, I can get paid for this. Yeah, I can be a serious actor. And I find that like I started losing some of the enjoyment that I had from doing projects, because then you get so stressed about everything having to be perfect. And I think when you're thinking in your head that you want a certain line to look like, what you want people to think about when they watch it, then you take yourself out of the work. I think by trying to make it as good as you possibly can, you actually take yourself out of the work. So here, where we got it like all pretty much within like a week, we got our scripts, and then we had to come film. There was not a whole lot of opportunity to really like build up a bunch of things in my head. So we really just got to play, and we really just got to like kind of experience the film in real time. And I think that kind of showed me that when you just do things spur of the moment, when you just do things for fun, then you can actually make good acting out of it, to be honest, because I can watch it and I can see, yeah, I'm not overacting there. I'm not overthinking there. I'm just playing, and I'm just having fun. It comes across really natural.
One little thing I've learned is have some other people help you with editing, because as they alluded to, this was filmed a while back, and it's been through editing limbo for a long time. Especially the opening scene was tricky, because a lot of it was sort of, we pointed the cameras, we let everybody fight, and whatever pops up. So it was tricky to get the structure of that opening scene just right. In terms of just like personal things I've truly learned from it, is embrace the things that you love, embrace the influences that really are near and dear to you. Because there's been other films I've worked on where I'm like, how do I get people to really respect what I write? How do I get people to really just like think I'm real, like I'm some profound artist? But this one, I was just like, I like weird fake sword battles, I like silly Vietnam movies, and I like all my friends. So let's bring them all together and do it and see what happens. And it was one of the most fun film experiences I've ever had. So I'm gonna definitely try and do that more and more in any films I make in the future.